Hello there, we're live from our studios here in Kokomlimle on digital address GA0992539. This is your home of fearless, credible and independent journalism. Our lead stories this hour. Power Distribution Services PDS to cough up some 200 million cedis following its botched deal with the Electricity Company of Ghana. More as government goes after the money which, according to the MP for Boko Central, remains in PDS account despite the abrogated power distribution deal. Matters arising from Deputy Ministry of Vetting as part of this will be live in Parliament. Rescue efforts continue in Bani in the Upper East region for at least 3 more miners feared dead in a mining pit following heavy rains after they entered the tunnel some 3 days ago. We are live on the ground. And also coming up, One Ghana movement announces imminent class action against National Petroleum Authority and GOIL, seeking compensation for victims of the June 3 flood and fire disaster. We'll take you down memory lane and explore the untouched report of the committee which investigated the disaster 6 years ago. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu Affordable Safe Sanitation. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. We're streaming live on YouTube and our social media handles. Why don't you interact with us as well on our social media, on our WhatsApp platform. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. This is The Pulse. Please be my guest. Welcome to the show. Deputy Minister Designate for Energy, William Oreku, says efforts are ongoing to help the ECG recover about 200 million cedis from Power Distribution Services PDS, which the latter has allegedly refused to pay. Following the botched PDS ECG deal, Boko Central MP Mahama Yariga claims PDS has not transferred the said amount, which was sitting in its account, to ECG. The Deputy Minister Designate says he is unsure of the figure, but the issue will be dealt with. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, is joining me now live from Parliament. Hello, Joseph. Let's talk about what other thing Mr. Edu has been telling the committee about this money that PDS ought to have sent to the ECG.
Well, from the information Mr. Mahama Yariga gives, when the PDS deal with ECG was reversed, then the situation developed where a decision had to be taken on what should happen as far as the way forward is concerned. According to the details that Mr. Yariga gave at the sitting of the committee today, information that he's gathered indicates that PDS had an amount of 200 million Ghana cedis sitting in its accounts as at the time that the directive was given by government that the ownership of ECG returns to previously before the PDS takeover, and that ECG should take back control of various aspects of the nation's power sector. He claims that from the information that he's gathered, even after this directive from government, we've had a situation where the PDS accounts that had a lot of this money to the tune of 200 million cedis sitting in, there's been efforts on the part of ECG to take charge of that account from PDS to no avail, and that the PDS is kind of resisting handing over the said amount in those accounts, and that ECG has tried to get through to the bank in question that holds this account to get those sums to no avail. So his direct question to the minister was whether he was aware of it and what he's doing to help the ECG retrieve the sum. The response from the minister was that this issue has come to his attention, but there is a bit of disagreement on how much the amount is, because then beyond the existence of this account, there's also been an issue of some individuals who claim that they were contractors for PDS and were demanding sums that are owed them, which were supposed to have been paid out of this same account. So then He's not very clear in his mind on the figures in terms of how much is supposed to be sitting in the account, how much should possibly go to ECG, and how much should probably go to the contractors in question. And he's been interrogating the issues. Mr. Ayariga tried to push him, trying to get the details on what specific figures he's gotten. He says he's getting different figures from ECG and PDS on how much specifically sits in that account, which is how come they've not been able to resolve this particular issue. And then he added that this is actually a case that's in court because we know that PDS has sued in connection with this. So then he says it's part of the reason why there's not been a full solution to the issue, even after it had been brewing for a while. And so he looked forward to supporting his minister to probably bring a full resolution to the issue with the necessary clarifications between the ECG team and the PDS team, and even the said contractors who claim that PDS actually owed them before handing back control of the power system to the ECG. And so at the level of the committee, the full details of it didn't emerge, and the indication was given that this is something that the Committee on Mines and Energy could probably take over subsequently and help resolve. But for Mr. Ayariga, his urge to the Deputy Minister Designate was that when he gets into the position eventually, he should take the necessary steps to help ECG recover the sum so that then it helps them in their operations.
Indicated that the Deputy Minister Designate said he was unsure of the amount and that there seem to be different amounts. Did he state specifically what these different amounts are? Because so far, 200 million is what Mr. Ayariga has said, and that's what a lot of people seem to be working with.
He actually didn't. So this is something that became a very heated conversation in the committee room earlier today, because then Mr. Ayariga was pressing him to disclose the figures that he has, even after he said conflicting figures have actually come to him. And so he was unwilling to disclose what those conflicting figures are, to the extent that the chairman of the committee, Jose, also eventually intervened and said, this is something that Parliament can take up subsequently and get into the details of it and investigate it further and help resolve the issues. But the minister was very much hesitant about confirming the figure. And in fact, even as Mr. Ayariga put out the figure and indicated the 200 million himself, he made the point that he wasn't very certain of the figure. It could be more, it could be less. And he made a statement that the minister could correct him if his 200 million figure is wrong. But that's the information that he has. So no one is very much clear on what the figure is. One other point that came up was whether wherever the money had been sitting, if eventually has to be paid back, it should be paid back with interest or otherwise, which again, the committee members didn't exactly agree with the minister on what approach that should take, whether interest should build on it over the duration, because it's been, if I'm not mistaken, more than a year, getting to 2 years since the said money has still been with PDS. And so those are all the issues that the chairman of the committee hopes the Parliamentary Committee on Mines and Energy will eventually help bring a resolution to, even after William Oreku ends up as a deputy minister in that particular sector.
Eye on this particular story, but there have been another deputy ministerial nominee who has been vetted, Abno Sayasari, and then there is another one ongoing at the moment. Brief us on these.
And so the deputy minister designate for the finance ministry, Abno Sayasari, also appeared before the committee. She responded to a range of questions from the committee members, ranging from government management of the finance sector over the last 4 years, because we know herself, like William Oreku, had both served in those specific positions. She has served as a deputy finance minister in the previous administration. She spoke about the country's debt situation and all the efforts that government had made in order to ensure that the country's debt profile is brought under control, and the difficulty that government had run into trying to manage the economy even in times of COVID-19. And again indicated that she really looks forward to supporting her minister, Ken Oforiatta, as well as the Minister of State, to help run the finance sector going forward to ensure that Ghanaians benefit fully from the economic management programs of the Akufo-Addo administration. There are two others that the committee is vetting today as well: the Deputy Minister Designate for the Railway Sector, as well as the Deputy Minister Designate for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, that's Yao Frimpong Addo, who had previously served as Chairman of Parliament's Environment, Science and Technology Committee, and is kind of a senior member of this House who would eventually be appearing before the committee. So the MPs are going through that today as well, and today they're looking forward to vetting 4 different deputy ministers, even as they continue the efforts to ensure that as many of them are vetted soon so the House can go ahead and approve their nominations.
Well, Joseph, that's a lot of information, and we will be crossing over to Parliament shortly or momentarily. But then, is there anything else that we need to update our viewers on? Otherwise, that will be it for me.
So, Gifty, briefly on the floor of the House, there's been a number of statements, including what is being done to green Ghana and how illegal mining activities are negatively impacting those efforts to ensure a green Ghana. That's been discussed extensively on the floor of the House today. On the corridors of Parliament, there's been a number of other developments as well. We're getting more details on a petition that came to the Speaker, Mr. Alban Bagbin, yesterday, asking that Parliament intervenes in the Achimota School and the issue having to do with the Rastafarian students as well, with the court ruling and all. The petition has come to the Speaker as at last night, and we're looking forward to him bringing it to the attention of the House, for the House to decide the steps that they will take in order to help deal with that. Again, on the corridors of Parliament, the ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee has been speaking to the media, asking for an independent probe into the circumstances under which cement was actually carried in an ambulance, which is a video that has gone viral, and he thinks that's a result of a mismanagement of the ambulance service by the Health Ministry, and he's asking them to sit up. And again as well, former Energy Minister Kofi Ama-Boa has been speaking to the media about how he thinks the energy sector in the country is on the decline as a result of mismanagement by the Energy Ministry and government in general. So those have been some of the other developments in Parliament House today. Gifty.
Joseph, thank you very much for those updates there. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is joining us from Parliament. We're live over there. We'll be going over shortly to be a part of the vetting process that's still ongoing. As he said, the Deputy Ministerial Designate for Food and Agriculture is expected today. Deputy for Railway Sector as well expected today. You're watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Apia. We'll take a very quick break. When we return, we'll tell you about Achimota School and Ohineba Kweku Nkrabea, who went to school today. You're welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. Parent of Ohineba Kweku Nkrabea, one of the 2 Rastafarian students who were earlier denied admission by Achimota School, say he was welcomed to loud cheers from other students and a warm welcome from management. Today, Ohineba Kweku Nkrabea, one of the two dreadlock-wearing students, was finally admitted to join his colleagues in the classroom. Kwekwa Sante reports.
The High Court ruling was expected to bring a close to this matter, but that was short-lived when the Achimota School's Board of Governors announced that not only were they going to seek an appeal of the ruling, they wanted to file a stay of execution, which would have essentially prevented the boys from going to school until the appeal was heard and decided in court. The Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, however, directed the school to withdraw the application for stay of execution and admit the 2 dreadlock-wearing students pending the appeal. After weeks of a heated legal battle and war of words, one of the 2 students, Ohineba Kweku Nkrabea, has been admitted, while the other is expected to be admitted on Friday. Outside the gates of Achimota School, journalists awaited the arrival of the students and parents due to the huge media and national interest in the case. Mana Myers is mother of Kweku Nkrabea. He says they were welcomed to loud cheers of students and also to a warm reception by the school manager.
We approached the administration block, and when we're going, I think before we got there were some students in their dormitories, cheering, and that was very assuring. It made us feel like Oheneba was welcomed by the student body. It was their school, the day school prefect, the day students prefect, who approached us in a very warm and nice manner, told Oheneba, asked Oheneba whether, he was a day student or a brother, and he said he was a day student, and she said, okay, then you are going to be my school son, and told us that Oheneba was welcomed, nobody was going to do anything to him, and that if he had any problem, he should just approach her, and that was very reassuring.
Oheneba Kweku Nkrabea's dream of attending the Massachusetts Institute of Technology was on hold as the legal battle raged on. He has joined his colleagues in class, and for him, that puts his dream back in motion. His father, Ras Aswad Nkrabea, says he's excited about this new development.
It was wonderful. I was, very elated because of the fact that we finally got to this point where he can go into the school that he wanted to go. I've been here from 5 minutes to 6, and when we got here and went to the administration hall, our building, as we were standing outside, we heard a very loud noise, and when we look around, there were so many students at the building, and they were just welcoming us and showing their appreciation, and that made me feel very good.
Right. For him, what body language did he show?
Oh, well, he's not a person that is expressive like that, he was just smiling and, very calm with the situation. I think it's later that we will probably hear from him what took place.
I'm very grateful, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
The other student, Tyrone Iras Magai, is expected to go through admission processes on Friday.
Kwakwa Sante with that report. The Ghana Education Service must consider developing a comprehensive guideline to guide faith and religious practices in all schools. The piecemeal solutions to matters of faith will end up demotivating governing boards, school management, parent and teachers associations, and religious bodies involved in education. This is coming from a statement issued by the Alliance for Christian Advocacy Africa, Reverend Dr. Kobna Opuni Frimpong. He's joining me right now so we can hear his thoughts on what's happened so far. Reverend, thank you very much for your time. Good afternoon.
Gifty.
Yes, it's good to hear from you again. And your concern is that it's about time that we develop a comprehensive guideline. Exactly who should be the stakeholders in developing this guideline, because there are several interests at play here?
You are right, Gifty. Let me say that the issues that we are being faced with at the moment is not new. Around 2015, we had a similar issue at St. Augustine, where a student who had a challenge with Sunday evening service jumped from a story building, and the outcome was not very pleasant at all. Now, that brought all the, call them stakeholders, GES, members of parliament, in fact, Honorable Aswase MP was in the meeting, Peace Council, Professor Asante was in the meeting, Muslim leaders, several of them, Sheikh Arimiya was at the meeting. We met at Kofi Annan Peace Center. Then General Akwa, who later became the Chief of Defense Staff, was in charge of that place. And it came clear to all of us that there's a vacuum that must be filled, that we don't have guidelines when it comes to religious practices in our schools, and that gap must be filled, because now school managements are left. If you are in Adventist school, you don't wear year ring. SDA has been allowed to do that. If you're a Muslim school, Friday, 10 o'clock class, you don't attend classes. It's allowed. And Christians have similar privileges. So schools were implementing various guidelines when it comes to practicing faith. 2015 to date, the vacuum is still there. And now the other day it was Wesley girls. Instruction was given, allow them, but let parents come do kind of undertaking. If the girls fall sick, they can't hold anybody responsible. Today is Achimota. Instruction was given by GS, accept them. Now that is what we call piecemeal solution. Instead of piecemeal, we say we need comprehensive, and comprehensive gifting must bring all stakeholders on board. It means we must answer the question about law. You must do this guideline within the legal framework that is within our country. You must answer questions about discipline, questions about curriculum, parents' interest, quality education. Gifty, let me tell you, when I was in school, our population was less than 1,000, about 700. I have happened to serve as board chairman in 4 secondary schools, including Prempeh College. And now some schools have 3,000 students, 2,000 students. You leave 3,000 students with a teaching strength of, say, 200. And if you allow each student to come in their own constitutional right, going to court, have a judgment, it will be very difficult, very demotivating. Sort of for managers of education in this country.
And in that case, you say that Ghana Education Service should do this, but like I said, when there are interests at play, is there a particular precedent, for example, that we can stand upon to create this guideline? Or would you not say that going to the Supreme Court, the appeal court, as the Achimota School Board has decided to do, will actually help streamline this ruling and not open up the floodgates for anybody to say, I do this and I want to do that here in this school?
Yeah, we are a democratic society, and one way that we must strengthen our democracy is also to strengthen our institutions. And therefore, if somebody wants to test our laws in the law courts, including Supreme Court, excellent, but it will not exhaust what we are looking for. Because if even Supreme Court comes out to say that, yes, you can go to school and wear whatever you want to wear, keep your hair the style you want, it doesn't mean we have still solved extensively matters of practicing religion and faith on campuses. Because are you saying that if a Christian gets into Islamic school and the parents insist, after 10, I want my children to be taught, it should be allowed? What would that mean to Islam, even if Supreme Court gives that ruling? If you go to, if you go that way, the challenges will keep hitting us, and people will be going to court again and again. So, but people are free to test the law. But even while doing that, we know, and like I said, as far back as 2015, we said, let us have a conversation from legal perspective, those in curriculum development, parent interest, those who are into education management, faith-based organization. Let us have a comprehensive plan that whether you are in school A or school B, it is known to parents, school managers, students, that if you are in school, you can go to this extent with your faith. You can't go beyond this line with your faith. And this is known by everybody. That will bring us to a safer place, more than using individual human right, constitutional right to answer the question. Gifty.
Well, let's wrap up by talking about where we can start from. Is your organization, for example, I mean, you were formerly of the Christian Council. Is your organization going to team up with, respected organizations like the Christian Council, etc., to lead or to help with the creation of a guideline like this? I'm wondering if you've been in touch with the GES with your own thoughts as well.
The statement you just read has been shared with so many such interest bodies. But I must say that the 2015 meeting earlier on I mentioned at the Kofi Annan Center, in fact, came out with a draft document. I was then the General Secretary. I was one of those who organized that series of meetings. And we can revisit that and improve that, because we have the various bodies. In fact, we've been meeting the religious group, Muslim, Peace Council, Christian Council. The bodies are already there. We only need to come out with a document that we will show to all interest groups and maybe even get it to Parliament, so that we don't get individuals who go to a particular school and say, I am here, I want to live in this school in my own terms. But then a document that had been considered by the various stakeholders, maybe have even Parliament approval, is there for everybody to see. Media houses, we all know that you can't go to school and insist on X, Y, Z, but you can have A, B, C, D. So yes, even we started the process, why it has taken us such a long time, and now issue that confronted us 2015 is still confronting us today is something that is very disturbing, but it's a river that we can cross as a country, and all of us will make ourselves available to help.
For your time this afternoon and for sharing your thoughts with us. Reverend Dr. Opuni Frimpong there sharing his thoughts. He says that there is a 2015 draft that we ought to revisit when it comes to creating a guideline that everybody in any school in Ghana ought to abide by. Once again, I would love to hear from you, so share your thoughts with us on our WhatsApp platform. Away from Achimota School, 2 miners are still missing. About 3 of them, we're told right now, after rescuers retrieved the bodies of 9 others from flooded Galamsey pits at Gbani in the Talinsi district of the Upper East region. Police confirmed that 9 of the miners trapped in the pits were pronounced dead by medics. The miners were trapped after the pit they were working in 3 nights ago was engulfed by water following heavy rains. The rescue team spent nearly 48 hours pumping water out of the underground mining tunnels, trying to find the miners.
Oh, it's far, it's much better. That's what I'm listening to. They have gotten closer to where they are working. So I'm sure that actually the boys are. Yeah, that's very good, very good, very good. That's very good.
Correspondent Albert Sori is joining me with more. Hello, Albert. Albert, let's start with the 3. Is there any news at all?
So less than an hour ago, I spoke with the Upper East Regional PRO for the Ghana Police Service, ASP David Fianco Ochiri, and he says that they are still looking for these people. As we speak, they have not yet been found.
Has the rescued efforts halted, or is it still ongoing?
Yeah, so what they did, if you look at the previous reports that we did, they were pumping the water out of the underground tunnels. Yesterday, throughout my stay there at the mining site, one of the things that constantly kept happening was that at every point in time when they thought they had gotten to the bottom of the mining pits, or they had managed to get all the water out of the tunnels, it will turn out that more water would rush in from some other parts, and they will have to start pumping all over again. So it took a very long time. As at 5 p.m. yesterday, they even called some of the relatives who are around that they were ready to go in and bring the bodies. But just when they were about to do that, they realized that there was still more water. So it took them a very long time. It was at 3 a.m. today that we got the confirmation that they had managed to finally go in and bring out these 9 bodies that we reported about today. Now, because of the nature of the operation, they have to make sure that there aren't still bodies in there. Now, what happened is that apart from the miners who went in on the day of the disaster to do their normal mining activities, we heard from accounts of the people who were around that when they realized that there was danger coming, some of them went back into the mine. They actually rushed into the mine to warn those who had gone in to do the work that there was danger coming. And some of these people could not make their way back out of it. So they are just trying to make sure that apart from the miners who went in, there aren't other people who haven't been accounted for. So when the 9 bodies were identified this morning, they realized that there were people whose names were mentioned as part of the people who were there that night doing the work, but who haven't yet been found. And so they are still underground doing searches. From what we learned, there are still tunnels that have water in them, and they are making sure that all the water in there is pumped out to be sure that these bodies are in there, or if they are not, they will find a way to account for them.
Do residents have anything, or the plenty of people we are seeing surrounding this area, do they have share any information about those who have died? Do they know them?
If you look at the pictures we have, there were so many people. Most of them are the people who come there to do mining. Others are there because they are taking advantage of the fact that people are doing work there to sell waste and all of that. And there are people who are relatives to those who, as of yesterday, were missing, who had come to see whether there will be any hope of them finding their relatives either alive or for their bodies. So there were so many people. Most people, when you speak to them, would maybe give you accounts of what they had heard. But the few miners that I met who were there actually gave, very very heartbreaking accounts. If you look at that pit you are seeing, it's one of the pits through which they go underground. Now, when they get there, there are tunnels, and they all spread into different tunnels to do their work. And so if water is rushing through the mouth of the pit, the chances that you even be able to climb against the rushing water and come out will be very minimal. You understand? So yeah. This is how the disaster happened. Now, most of the people, the miners who are around, mentioned some names. These are people that you won't know, because once you are not a regular person there or somebody who works there, you will not know. But the relatives of these people were around just waiting. Some of them, basically looking very sad and, just waiting to hear the bad news. It's unfortunate that at the time that the bodies were finally found and brought out, it was at dawn. And so those of us who are reporters did not get the chance to see these families and how they were reacting to it. But one thing I can also tell you, Gifty, is that the police had to release the bodies to the families. From what the police PRO tells us, they did some medical examinations on them and handed the bodies over to the families for burial. And one of the reasons is that if you look at the pictures, if you see the bodies, they weren't really in a good condition. So it's best that they are actually interred, and the families can mourn them accordingly. as investigations by the committee that the regional minister has set up to investigate the accident continues their work.
Albert, hang on for me. Thankfully, we're joined on the line by the Upper East Regional Minister, Stephen Yakubu. Mr. Yakubu, thank you for your time and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you have commissioned a committee to look into this disaster. Exactly what will the committee be doing?
Well, we want to find out what caused it, what we can do so that it never happens again. That is what I want them to do. Because going there myself, I think that we should be able to put up safety measures so that this will not happen again. So I want to wait for the committee to come out with recommendations so that we can implement it fully to prevent this happening again.
To what extent is it not clear exactly what happened? As we're seeing, there was a rain. They went underneath and they got trapped underneath. Will the commission be looking, or the committee be looking at perhaps mining practices that could stop this, or to look into what exactly happened? Because it seems pretty clear, unless we are being ignorant, but it seems pretty clear exactly what happened here.
You see, yes, but for example, if the mining pits, where the pits were, where two of the pits were actually very close to the waterway, you understand? Okay. For example, the place is a low-lying area also, and we are now entering into a the rainy season. So we have to look at all this, and also the practices, as you said, the safety way of actually, for example, if there was a way of alerting the people early, they could have come out before even the rain, the water got into the pit. So these are totally, I want to look at it in all in its totality, holistically, so that we'll be able to put up a very comprehensive safeguard so that this thing doesn't happen again.
How long does a committee have to work? And let's start with how long they have to work.
Well, we're thinking of 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. So that within these 3 weeks, we want to close the place down, and then first of all, we want to engage the people, mourn with them, engage them, and then while the committee is doing their work, so that within the 3 weeks, we implement whatever recommendation the committee will come out, and then you can go back. Remember that these people have mining lands, and therefore they are doing their work there legally, so that they can go back and do their work.
So 3 weeks for the committee to work. 2 weeks you want to implement the recommendations they'll come up with?
No. Immediately they finish, we should be able to use a week also to it depends on what they are recommending, but we're thinking that probably within a week we should be able to implement whatever recommendations that they are giving us. We'll work day and night to be able to finish it so that these people can go back to work.
Who is on this committee?
I can send you the list, but we have the police, we will have the DNI, we will have the Mineral Commission, we have technical mining engineers. These are some of the people who are going to be members of the committee.
Okay, let's look at the rescue mission. We understand that about 3 more people are expected to still be trapped beneath the earth. How long will the rescue mission continue?
My understanding is that they should be able, by the end of the day, they should be able to bring these 3 people up. And even bringing these people up, I also want them to actually further look properly to see if, there is anybody at all not left there. So we are hoping that by the end of the day, we should be able to get them out.
Thank you very much for your time. I know that also the regional, the RECSEC has been meeting on this. Can you share with us, apart from the decision to set up the committee, can you share with us what more information you have gathered surrounding this incident?
Yes, you know, we are trying to establish the number of people that are actually working there also. And also to see if the pits are along that line, if there are other pits downstream as well, so that what happens upstream will not happen downstream. So we are looking at all this to make sure that we get the right information and the right and also the right things to do.
A way that you know who is accounted for and who has not been accounted for to help in this rescue mission.
Please, can you repeat that question?
So do we know these people? I asked our reporter whether these people are known. Do you have any information, any database from the miners there to prove who these people are so that we can know who is accounted for and who is unaccounted for as part of finding who else ought to be found?
Yes. We know all their names, their ages, and, you know, they are local people there. So they know all of them. We know their ages, we know their names, and we know all that.
Can you share with us the names of these people?
I have them, but unless I get them and
Very well.
Do you have them with you?
Okay. So whilst you check for the names, Albert, I was just asking the minister whether or not we have details to help us establish who is accounted for and who is unaccounted for. Do you get the sense from your interaction with the people that they will know this, so they will be certain that after this rescue mission there is nobody else down there?
Yes, Gifty. One of the things I gathered was that for every night when they are going in, it appears that they take turns. The miners take turns to go and collect their stones underground and then come back out to work, you know, break the stones and all of that to extract the gold. So sometimes they go in batches. So in this particular case, they knew the batch that was in there at the time. Also, sometimes some of them work during the day and others work at night. Okay, so because of this, they know them. They also know the communities they have come from. And just like I said, there were relatives who, you know, knew that members of their families had come to work that night when the accident occurred, and they, you know, they heard about the accident and came to ensure that if their relatives they know have been coming there to work, you know, they just came to check if they are safe and if they are still alive and all of that. So based on these things, the police will be able to gather data, especially with names and where these people are from. That is information that they can use. Okay, hopefully that can help us really determine whether the 3 will be the end of the number of people we're looking for. Let me engage the minister finally and find out whether or not he has the names now. Sir, do you have the names now for us?
Yeah, I have the name. Do you want me to mention the name?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, we have one, Debembani Tembora. He's age 30. We have Zo Sheng, age 28. We have Kwekuti, age 25. We have Daniel Basuma, age 27. We have Kwejo Balimbinson, age 42. We have Nasengna Basuma, age 25. We have Kolok Bering, age 21. We have Jonathan Nazi, age 28. And we have Sampana Banja, age 38. So you see that the youngest is 21, and the oldest here is 42 years old.
42 years old. That is a Tembora, the first guy that you mentioned.
The Kojo,
oh, right.
Balimbinson, he's 42. And the youngest is Kolong Bering, age 21.
The second name you mentioned, is that a Chinese?
No. These are all Ghanaians.
These are all Ghanaians?
Yes, these are all Ghanaians.
Right. Yes. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for your time. And we'll hold on to this as we wait for the work of the committee, whether or not it helps us, and whether or not the rescue mission can find the rest of the people. Upper East Regional Minister, Mr. Yakubu, there talking to us. Albert, let's wrap it up. I'm wondering how the people who live in this area feel. Is this something that has happened there before?
This is not the first time a mine disaster has occurred here. As recently as 2018, we lost about 12 miners, if I remember the figure correctly. This disaster was different in nature. In this particular case, they were underground, there was a blast, and some of them inhaled poisonous fumes. There were some survivors, and others died. Since 2013, since I started working as a reporter, I've reported almost every year when disasters of this nature have, mining disasters basically occurred in Bani. So this one was a little different in that it was water and not the pit caving in or the miners inhaling smoke, but water going into the pit and drowning them as a result.
Hopefully this will help the mines and other miners across the country to review their mining practices, knowing that this could happen. Albert, thank you so much for the details. Albert Sori is our correspondent in the Upper East region, bringing us up to speed. So now you know the people who have been involved in this. The oldest is 42, the youngest is 21. They had gone into the pit you're seeing there, entered that tunnel, gone down below and tried to find gold, but the rains came upon them, locked them up in there and killed them. 9 of them have been found. 3 are still being searched for. We don't know whether there is more or the 3 is all that remains of those who entered the pit. I'd love to hear from you. Send us a WhatsApp message on 0540109009. That's 0540109009. Let's hear what your thoughts are. Now, 6 years ago today, Ghana lost some 159 people through a flood and fire disaster. Civil society group, or at least 300 people were directly affected by the tragedy. As we look at the day that still brings painful memories to many Ghanaians, some of the recommendations by the Justice Isaac Duche Committee have yet to be carried out. One Ghana movement has initiated a class action against the National Petroleum Authority, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and GOIL to seek compensation for the victims. We'll be hearing from them shortly. But first, Elton Brobe, who first chanced on some of the charred remains of the victims on his way home on that day, reports.
The loss that our nation has suffered is incomprehensible.
What started the night before as a heavy downpour at the center of the country's capital, Kwame Nkrumah Circle, was aggravated after a nearby fuel station exploded in the downpour, leaving an estimated 159 Ghanaians lifeless, while scores also sustained varying degrees of burns and injuries. Whilst the rain was seen as a natural occurrence, the fire, which worsened the situation, was later said to have been caused by a cigarette smoker who dropped a lighter stub into water that had oil floating on top of it. Some victims of the disaster recounts the day.
So I was opposite of police station before the incident happened. I'm about to run before the fire catch me for the face. So I had to further into water, then I had to swim in the water and wake up. Because that night was horrible.
When I started because then the time the tanker blasted, then it drew me away to the other road. I didn't say anything again. They can't take me to hospital. I stayed in hospital about almost 6 months. All my head is also bent.
Apart from the irreplaceable human life lost, 5 houses, including the GOIL filling station at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, suffered various degrees of damage valued at 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. To prevent a future occurrence of the tragedy that hit the country on June 3rd, the Disaster Committee recommended the complete dredging of the door drain a ban on the use of plastic as carrier bags, water dispensers, and cooked food containers.
A responsible moment, we have to do the right thing. On the 3rd, Accra had one of the highest level of rains, from which we lost, with the fire explosion, we lost 159 souls. Still counting.
People building in waterways, littering the drains, make it difficult for the flood water that comes from the mountains to reach the sea. And so we've created a human intervention between the source of the rivers and the sea where they are headed. We'll have to take some measures to be able to avoid this happening in the future.
Residents of Sodom and Gomorrah have built on the Kole. They have every day come in, fill it with sawdust, covered it with sand, and then built upon it. Now, if you can look around, this is what has been left of the Kole Lagoon. Everywhere you are standing here, and everything you are seeing here is right in the middle of the Kole Lagoon.
It also suggested standardized training, certification, and licensing of filling stations attendants, the creation of sanitation police, compulsory fitting of all commercial vehicles with refuse baskets or bins, and equipping of disaster managers with the requisite tools to effectively handle disasters. The committee also recommended the provision of air ambulances and helicopter firefighters, which should be managed by the Ghana Air Force, and a fund to cater for the injured and deceased families.
And we still remember that day like it happened just yesterday. As you heard in our report, the committee recommended the dredging of the Odo River. So what is the state of the basin which runs through Circle and parts of the Central Business District? Benjamin Yakubu was there and now reports.
As we continue our constituency and community project, today we find ourselves in the Klotekoli constituency, and we're going to be interacting with Hope Duamepo. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you too.
You've been resident in this community, at least you've worked here for over 30 years.
Yeah.
What are the woes you face every year?
Every year it's all about flood. Every year flood. Every year, flood. Every year, flood.
For the over 30 years you've been here?
Yeah, during Rawlings' regime, the flood came only 95, and that's it. Until recently, they've done a shoddy job here, which has cost us a lot. Every time when...
What is that shoddy job? Let's talk about it.
So there's a gutter that they've constructed, which the olden days, they've done it open, big. Now they've closed it, they make it narrow and then cover the top. So when it rains, even pure water, when you pour water on the floor, it will flood. So anytime when it's about to rain, I have to leave Abilinkpe. When I'm not at work, I have to come to work and move all the cars out of the yard before the whole place gets...
Wait, you're telling me all these cars we are seeing here, you have to move them out of this yard?
I move them out.
Why?
Because of the flood. I have to move them out. Otherwise, I may lose a lot of customers and money.
So basically, rainwater enters this place and it could take away the cars?
It covers the cars. Every car that here,
wow.
When it rains, all is covered. All is covered. The last rain, it was around my waist. Yeah, so I have to quickly move all the cars. The last car that I moved out was a 4x4 car. So that one, I managed to drive it out of the yard.
Around when was this? How many years ago?
Oh, it's not about a year, last year. Just last year. Every year when it rains here, get flooded.
So you have a member of parliament, of course, Dr. Zaneto Rawlings, and I'm sure over the years you've been complaining about the situation. What has been the outcome?
Oh, the last time that we questioned her about the construction of the gutter, she told us that what they were doing there is not good, it's wrong. But she said, the contractor said they know what they are doing.
Conversation.
Thank you very much, brother.
What's your name?
My name is Frimpong Maxwell Asibi.
Okay. Frimpong, what do you sell in this market?
Actually, this market generation from Novotel. But I'm the founder of Novotel Market. Transfer us, NDC time, we came here, this Odona. So I'm part of the market and at the same time, I'm the secretary of the market.
How long have you been here?
Almost getting to 20 years now. Here we are here. We came here almost 10 years, 11 years with that. 10 to 11 years with that.
Okay. And in this period that you've been here, what has been the major problem of this community, or what are some of the major problems you've been facing here?
We have 3 major problems we are facing here. First is by the water here. If rainfall, this June, July, we are in headache. We are in big headache. But so far as we are always accepting those kind of pressure and those kind of the problem we are in here. We always face it because it has been addressed that we well every year. We don't worry about that. But actually, we have been complaining several times. All stations in Ghana have been here complaining up to now. You see, the whole Kolikrote, this is the largest market of Kolikrote. If you walk through the Kolikrote, from this down straight to Osu down, this is the largest market. And I have always been saying that this place is a land of not even self. Because here is far on far. You see, every place there is a, if you don't need to sell a land for you to build a room for a house, if you have to ask what a particular land. Government brought it here, but as we came here, nothing better has been gone. People, money has been, they have not been benefiting nothing from here. I brought almost 2,003 women, men 700. But today, all the women from the junction to the down there, you will not even get up to 800 or 700, which a lot of people go back to Abayi.
Why?
The reason is, if you are business or you are making business without benefiting, what do? You have to stop. Is that not it?
Community by community, constituency by constituency, we're highlighting the problems of ordinary Ghanaians hanging out around the Odo River Gutter. I call it a river gutter because there was a point where this was clear enough and there was even fish in here. Today, it's more of a gutter and filled with a lot of filth. We've engaged a lot of those who sell at the market and a lot of those right here who ply their trade at the bus station, the bus terminal. It is not a pleasant story. They are dreading the month of June because when it comes with the rains. And when the rains come, it can only mean one thing: flooding and disaster. Some of the very people we've interacted with will have to flee. And they are calling on government to come to their aid. From right here in the Odo area, Benjamin Akako reporting for JoyNews.
Well, what has become of the victims? Civil society group One Ghana Movement has initiated a class action against the National Petroleum Authority, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly and GOIL to seek compensation for the victims. Let's take you through the statement that they just sent this afternoon. It says, torrential rainfall which affected most parts of the country turned into a devastating fire and flood catastrophe, resulting in the death of 154 people. Well, that's the summary of what happened. Hundreds, they say, suffered severe burns in the unfortunate incident which occurred on June 3. This marked a dark day in the history of Ghana, with surviving victims suffering permanent physical disabilities, which to date severely undermine their suitability for the job market. The report of the ministerial committee that investigated the disaster attributed it to the flood, poor safety practices at the oil filling station, and a cigarette spark by a person who has since been identified. We still don't know who that particular person is. But the floods, according to the statement, were attributed to blockages in Accra's main storm drains, resulting from the non-desilting of the drains as well as the building of settlement and habitation of squatters in the storm drains. The One Ghana statement continues to say that the lower part of the Odo River in the area known as Sodom and Gomorrah had been blocked by settlers who had reclaimed substantial portions of the Odo Channel and built houses, mosques, churches, and a market on it, thereby reducing the discharge capacity of the Odo Channel into the Korle Lagoon. Now, what the statement is doing right now is to lay down what caused this, according to the work of the committee. It says all these findings can be attributed to the human causes for which there are regulatory bodies to ensure that the right statuses are enforced to prevent such disasters from occurring. Why then was no action taken to forestall this devastation? It is to this end that, in accordance with the One Ghana Movement Citizen Responsibility and Policy Accountability Objectives, the J4J3 project was launched on June 2, 2017 to pursue the following aims. 1. To increase transparency and accountability in public financial management. 2. To hold corporations, public officials, and institutions accountable. 3. To secure equitable compensation for the victims. 4. To encourage citizens' participation in governance and increase their engagement with national and local authorities. The victims and the One Ghana movement have, through their lawyers, that is Dako, Kelly, Delatar and Co., and A Partners at Law, commenced a class action against GOIL, the National Petroleum Authority, and the Accra Metropolitan Authority for their complicity in the disaster, which is why it laid down the reasons that caused this fire and flood disaster. It goes on to say that while the court case continues, it is our expectation that the pursuit of justice will not only result in the compensation to victims and their families, but will in the end punish officials found culpable. Even more importantly, it will drive the sense of accountability and responsibility on the part of citizens, corporate Ghana, and public officials. In so doing, the statement says the citizens will be emboldened not to allow their rights and privileges to be trampled upon. Public servants and politicians alike shall also realize that they will be held accountable for their actions or inactions. It concludes by saying, as the saying goes, the wheels of justice grind slowly, and though the J4J3 case has been in court since 2018, we are staying the course and working to ensure that systems are put in place to guarantee that officials uphold their responsibility to the people of Ghana and work assiduously to execute their roles to the best of their abilities. So that's the statement of the One Ghana movement. So as you've seen there, the case has been pending for some time now. We stay on this a little longer because government has assured that the next rainy season will see no flooding at Sekol and parts of the business district. MCE for Korle Klote is sure that plans of a reconstruction of the drains will have been completed by then. According to him, government is already in talks with consultants to redesign the drains and the engineering works to avoid flooding. He was speaking at the 6th memorial of the June 3rd flood and fire disaster, which was held at Ground Zero here in Accra.
Since the burning of the market, government is trying as quick as possible to correct the engineering problem most people say is to do with the water flow from this community into the main Odo drain. One, apparently it meets where it is so. It meets the water from the mountains in the main at 90% angle. That needs to change. I think that is going to be corrected. and then also all the way from Paloma on the ring road, Kawukudi, the water that comes through Asalam Dam to the main drain. We have the consultants, the Ministry of Works and Housing is working on reconstructing the whole drain from that side. They've started now, the processes are in place, and then the consultants have been to the assembly a few times. What they are trying to do is to start work now, and hopefully by the next rain, not this time around, they would have probably done the redesigning of the major drain that goes underneath the market before the rebuilding of the market can also start.
You're watching The Pulse with me, Gifty, and up here. Let's take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Let me take some of your messages that have just come in. This one says, beg your pardon. This one says, hello, Gifty. It is a challenging issue for us trying to successfully merge our various religions into educational institutions such as SHS. As true as it is that religious practice cannot be a deterrent to one's access to education, allowing our various religious practices into our SHS without a comprehensive and wholesome guideline can lead to the production of SHS graduates with some level of unpleasant lifestyle. This is from Caleb. Caleb is messaging us from Sankore. Caleb, thank you for your message. This one says, so sad about the Gbani mining disaster. Out of poverty, our people are perishing. Our leaders are failing us because the same people would have found nicer jobs to earn a living than risking their lives by enslaving themselves with this kind of job. Anyway, will not earn them any good salaries, and they've ended up losing their lives. So sad. God save us all. You don't add your name, but you're sending it. Okay, professional nurse from Sene West District. Thank you for your message. Now, an 8-man immigration task force has busted a human trafficking syndicate operating from the UK with its counterparts in here in Accra. The task force busted the human trafficking syndicate, which is operating here in the UK with their counterparts in Apam here in Ghana. The group, which is sourced from the Ghana Immigration Service, is to help fight organized immigration crime groups, especially between Ghana and the United Kingdom. We'll get more of this from the Ghana Immigration Service. But first, here is Controller General of the Service, Kwame Esuatechi, speaking when the UK Home Secretary handed over an office complex from which the task force will be operating 24 hours.
The selection process started with 60 officers of the service. These officers were taken through various processes of selection, which included document fraud examination, polygraph tests, and a strict interview session. The above scrutiny exercise led to the selection of final 8 out of the initial 60 officers. The officers have undergone various levels of training to equip them for the task. In February 2020, before the onset of COVID-19 in Ghana, the team undertook an investigative case in Ghana at a town called Apam, which led to the identification and subsequent breakup of a syndicate in the United Kingdom. It was a human trafficking case where the syndicate, together with its Ghanaian collaborators, recruited unsuspecting victims as seafarers. This was a major breakthrough for a task force which was yet to assume full operations. The team has received some support in terms of modern equipment and a Toyota Fortuna donated by the British government as part of its collaboration. We are very grateful for the support. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to inform you that the location of this office facility being commissioned today is strategically situated to enable the team carry out its mandate effectively with stakeholders at the Ghana's busiest frontier, Kotoka International Airport, and will be operational 24/7.
The Controller General of the Ghana Immigration Service, Kwame Esuatechi, well, the Immigration Service says the apprehension of the human of the human trafficking syndicate is an ongoing investigation. Head of Public Affairs for the Immigration Service, Superintendent Michael Amwakwata, will be joining us with some more details. But Interior Minister Ambrose Derry says migration and border security remains a priority, and the task force working together with the UK counterparts will clamp down on such crimes, including sexual exploitation and human trafficking.
I believe that what we have between Ghana and the UK is true friendship and true partnership, and already the benefits are clear for all of us to see. I would say that we've had this collaboration which has benefited us, not just protecting the country from immigration crimes, but also during the COVID. Immigration played a very, very important part of our effort to keep COVID under control. The results of that effective border management was manifested when 10 persons, Burkinabe citizens, were arrested in a hotel in Tamale, and that was due to the hard work of the immigration services. And we do know that these offenses affect the governance of the country, they retard economic development, and crimes such as labor exploitation, forced labor, sexual exploitation, and now slavery, modern day slavery, are trends that we must all fight. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the British for building our capacity to be able to do so.
Ambrose Derry is Interior Minister. Now, the office of the task force is set to operate 24 hours. The UK, which funded the project, says the investment is aimed at achieving high standards of investigations, including appropriate handling of suspects while they are being processed for court. Home Secretary Priti Patel, who has also met with the National Security Minister Albert Kandapar, said the immigration task force will be liaising with the UK immigration officials directly.
Just heard about how organised immigration crime and criminals exploit and prey upon the most vulnerable for their own greed. And also they are there abusing them and making money out of their harsh and callous business. So we know that through our enforcement agencies and the work that we can do together, we support each other, but actually by working together through the techniques, the intelligence sharing, the information sharing, how we can operationalise together, we can stop this appalling crime. And we can do much more work upstream, prosecuting them here in country, using the full force of the law and the full arm of all aspects of law enforcement to make sure that we can stop this appalling trade in people trafficking and organised immigration crime. So I'm delighted that we now have the Ghanaian Immigration Task Force with its permanent office and facility. The Honourable Minister and I will be looking at the facility shortly. It's an investment that my government is proud to make here in Ghana. And it's important in terms of training officers, it's important in terms of the skills and the capability that are grown here, but also we have the skills, the ability to interview suspects, protect victims, and we will have custody suites here. So these are vital tools to enable all our officers, we've had the privilege of meeting our officers here today on the ground, to enable them to not just do their job, to protect the population, both Ghana and the United Kingdom, from these appalling immigration crimes that have been taking place.
UK Home Secretary Priti Patel there. We were supposed to get more information on the bust of this human trafficking syndicate by the Immigration Service, whose head of Public Affairs, Michael Amwakwata, is expected to join us so we can understand exactly what this is about. We're told it is still an ongoing investigation. And by the way, any information might not be easily available, but those are visuals from the center that this 8-man task force sourced from the Immigration Service are supposed to be working from. This office is located close to the Kotoka International Airport. We do have Superintendent Amoakwata, who is Public Affairs Head for the Immigration Service, joining us. Mr. Amoakwata, thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with the work of the task force so far. We understand from the Controller General that they have busted a syndicate. Tell us more about this.
Hello?
Yes, sir. You are on air.
Yes. I didn't get your question.
Right. My question is for you to tell us a bit more about the work of the task force so far. We understand from the Controller General's comments that they have already busted a human trafficking syndicate. Tell us a bit more.
Okay. The task force, that is the Ghana Immigration Task Force, is a specialized unit that is in place to fight against organized immigration crimes and also document fraud. And their first major assignment was the busting of a syndicate where a company in Ghana tried to recruit innocent Ghanaians with the guise of sending them to the UK as seafarers. Then when they get to UK, their passports and other documents and monies are seized from them, and then they are forced to engage in certain jobs that is dehumanizing. And they were able to track one of the kingpins behind this, and also to get information on the other side, that is in the UK, and the syndicate was busted, and some arrests and prosecutions have been made. And it is an ongoing investigation, and from the Controller General, as read in his speech, it was a very big success for the unit and to set the pace for them to do more of such investigative operations.
So this office, as we're seeing the visuals right now, is it operational? We're told they will be working 24 hours.
Yes, it's operational now. Yesterday, the facility was commissioned. It's fully stocked with all the logistics that they need, and the officers have been trained. In fact, it started with 60 officers who went through various levels of training. At the end of the training, 8 of them were selected to become officers of that specialized unit. They went through a lot about investigations and other techniques in money laundering and document fraud identification and all that. So these 8 are currently manning the facility and are going to operate 24/7, just like the Controller General said.
Mr. Amoakwata, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to the investigations and the conclusion of that particular investigation, as well as what more work this task force will be doing against immigration crimes. Superintendent Amoakwata speaks for the Immigration Service. Now, Deputy Majority Chief Whip in Ghana's Parliament, Frank Anodompre, has criticized his fellow representatives in the Pan-African Parliament for the chaotic scenes witnessed at the opening of the 4th ordinary session of the Pan-African Parliament in Johannesburg, South Africa. 2 MPs issued death threats and engaged in a brawl on the floor, similar to the event which took place in Ghana's Parliament in January during the election of a speaker. Mr. Anodompre wants his continental colleagues to give peace a chance.
Various caucuses have taken entrenched positions. So people want to make sense. People are speaking to logic. People are quoting protocols that exist, that is binding, and yet nobody listens. So what do we do under the circumstance? We cannot continue this lane forever. We have to make sense. We are thinking beings. And don't forget, our various countries who paid our hotel bills, who gave us the allowances to come here. The news is all over that we are here, we can't make a simple decision, we are fighting. Let me begin by appealing, Madam Chair, your good self and all the respected, and I see very experienced senior people in the chamber. That is why we have to fall on those experienced knowledge and logic for us not to be caught in this quagmire of confusion. Look, we better get serious. Our people are out there suffering with poverty and hunger. Maybe I'm very emotional and I'm justified to speak the way I'm speaking. If we don't make sense out of this, we will not have a justification for our trips to be paid by our member countries to come here.
Another prayer there. Minister for Health, Kwekwaji says the International Diabetes Federation has predicted 1.32 million Ghanaians are expected to live with diabetes due to rapid economic growth over the past 20 years. He was speaking at the launch of the Eye Care initiative at the Ministry of Health in Northridge. The initiative, which is in collaboration with Danish healthcare company Novo Nordisk and other healthcare services in the country, is targeting to spare access to treatment for persons living with diabetes in Ghana. Mr. Ajimamenu said diabetes threatens to reduce the life expectancy of the populace, especially the youth.
Rapid economic growth over the last 2 decades in our country has changed the burden of diseases. And we now see more non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and other ones. The trend is likely to continue. And the International Diabetes Federation projects that by 2045, about 1.32 million Ghanaians will be living with diabetes. Children with type 1 diabetes is also increasing, a challenge threatening the life expectancy of our young ones. The Federation estimates that there are 1,200 children with diabetes in Ghana at the moment. These children that need access to quality care and safeguard insulin to have a good quality of life. In recognition of the impact of non-communicable diseases on public health, the Minister of Health has actually started initiating activities going on to tackle diabetes, including diabetes in children. The non-communicable diseases policy that has been developed is currently with Cabinet. It prioritizes health promotion and early detection and health system strengthening, as well as support to children with diabetes.
Acting head of the non-communicable disease program at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Mary Efuakome, said their commitment to eye care is to ensure the client is the ultimate beneficiary of the initiative.
We're discussing how best the Ghana National Drug Program, the project, and then the implementers need to sit down to streamline the prices so that if insulin is being given at a certain price, we can trust that at the point where the patient is going to receive it, it's not going to be taken advantage of, but then the client is the one who is ultimately going to benefit. And we need to hold people accountable. And that's where the Ghana Health Service MOH comes in. How best our facilities will be positioned to provide the maximum service for the clients. We talked about these 21 centers across the country. Are we going to ensure that they are centers of excellence such that they can actually retrain and task shift to lower levels of care? And if there's a client in the community, can they, let's say, seek service from the nearest center, health center, because that person has been trained in foot care or in complications of diabetes, and when the time to see the specialist is not up, can they be given some service at the nearest center? So those are nitty-gritties that the MOH and the Ghana Health Service needs to streamline with the project. And ultimately for us, it's improvement in care for our patients, and especially the children where this is involved. So our stake is huge, but it's critical that moving forward from the MOU, we ensure that things are implementable.
One of the longest ongoing debates in recent German history is coming to terms with the darkest chapters of Germany's colonialism. Last week, for the first time, Germany officials acknowledged officially its committed genocide during its colonial rule in Namibia. While the decision was hailed as a milestone in Germany, it fell short of meeting the expectations of the two communities it impacted the most, the Herero and the Nama people. Joining us from Berlin is DW's Emmanuel Chase with details. Emmanuel, it's good to have you. Tell us more about the decision from Germany to now acknowledge genocide after years of negotiations.
Well, the cooperation lasted 5 years between the Namibian government and the German government. In fact, the two governments talked about what there was to do, with Germany finally acknowledging last week the term of genocide. This is a very dark page of German history and something that is not very well known here in Germany. So this acknowledgement is a first step to heal the relationship between Germany and Namibia, and with Germany acknowledging its role in the massacres of the Herero and the Nama people, Foreign Minister Heiko Maas called that a gesture of recognition for the immeasurable suffering of those people. Now, Germany will use the word of genocide, Völkermord, to refer to the massacres committed during its colonial rule in Namibia, particularly between 1904 and 1908, a period during which thousands of Nama and Herero people were killed, tortured, left to starve in the desert by the colonial army. Another gesture made by the German government is a financial aid of 1.1 billion euros, that's around $1.34, that will be given to Namibia over a period of 30 years, and that should be used to support the Herero and the Nama communities. But Germany falls short of calling it a compensation.
Well, Emmanuel, how did people in Namibia react to this gesture?
Well, the chiefs of the Herero and Nama ethnic groups in Namibia welcomed the recognition of the genocide by the German government and this admission of guilt. But they have rejected the agreement proposed by Germany, as they said that they haven't been part of the negotiation process, and they also demand that the planned signing ceremony between Germany and Namibia be postponed. Now, about the amount of money that Germany pledged to give to Namibia, the leaders of the Herero and Nama communities said that this was a shocking revelation, that it was unacceptable and an affront to their existence and an insulting amount of money.
Well, there are still some conflicting points remaining, aren't there?
Yes, there are questions that remain open, especially the question of compensations, which I've just mentioned, and of course remain open other aspects of colonialism. There's, for example, colonial looted artifacts and also body parts and skulls, thousands of which still lie in basements here in Germany of German universities, libraries and hospitals, as those body remains were brought back by colonial troops more than a century ago. And even if we see regularly some symbolic gestures happening with the return of certain artifacts, not only to Namibia but also to other formerly colonized countries, well, the Herero and Nama people demand that the remains of their ancestors be brought back to their land so they can give them proper, appropriate burial.
Emmanuel Chase there. Emmanuel, thank you very much joining us all the way from Berlin. So at least the country recognizes it. Well, let's see how the subsequent negotiations go. You're watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Rapia. Some sports coming up next. Do stay with us. So that's it for you, 9 days to the start of the 2020 Euros. And so that was the focus on Group A teams. And that's it for the polls this hour. Of course, we wrap it all up with Let's Talk Showbiz. Doreen Avio has that on standby. My name is Gifty Andopia. Log on to myjoyonline.com. Judicial Council petitions General Legal Counsel to investigate Dominic Ayene for some comment he made. That's our top story. Said John's support in my bid to become president shows he is NPP stalwart Akufo-Addo president there. Speaking when the man is being laid to rest. And police officer kills tutor in an accident at the Ghana National College. That's a tragic one. Story sourced to GNA. Take a look at that story. You see all the handles there. You can share it with your contacts so they know what's happening. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. God willing, we'll be here again tomorrow.